I mean, I would like to be called a pyrotechnician.
You should do it. Get into it.
I quit. See you later. I'm gonna go be a pyrotechnician. How's it going, guys? My name is Kevin Reyes. Thanks for joining 4-Minute Film School. I am on the back of a golf cart and we're cruising up this hill because we scouted this area and we're doing a nighttime scene here where we're gonna do a campfire. Today we're gonna be looking at moonlight, fire, balancing those two colors, the logistics of shooting nighttime exteriors, and we're actually gonna be shooting, I don't know if you can see, it's right down there. You might not be able to see, but I just kind of wanted to give you a layout of the location which we scouted a few weeks ago, and I can't wait to get into it because we're gonna go from this to this. All right, guys, I gotta get down this hill. I'm afraid of heights. Can we go down, please? Let's get into it, guys. Let's go. Get me down. Get me down. So the concept and story for today is obviously a campfire. Sitting at her campfire, she is just so excited to have left her old life, her ex-boyfriend in her new house, spacious backyard, all to be interrupted by her ex-boyfriend who comes in. Some of the main topics we're gonna be hitting today is the campfire. A lot of times, I know when I've tried to shoot campfires with just a natural fire, sometimes the fire is not enough light to expose the face. So to add to the campfire, I thought it'd be a good idea to bring in some color contrast. It's a nighttime exterior, so we have the warm fire. Why not bring in some moonlight? So we're gonna take a look at color balance, how we can introduce those two complementary colors together to make a nice, beautiful image. And yeah, I'm stoked to get into it. Let's do it. So we're in Sun Valley, which is a little bit north of LA, and the reason we chose this area was because a few different reasons. First, it just kind of has a vibe. Probably, I think it's 15 acres here, and there's an estate right behind us, and it's nice and open. It has just like that relaxing, free vibe up in the hills, and so we thought it'd be good to fit the scene and the story of today's shoot. The other reason was we needed a big open area where there was dirt. We're actually having a professional pyrotechnician come in and build a fire for us. It's gonna be a real fire, and the last thing we want to do is have an ember fall into some dry brush and create some issues. No one wants their camera lit on fire. And so if you're watching this, please don't try this at home. Don't go this route without having someone who is a professional, trained, and licensed pyrotechnician there. All right, guys, I'm here with my buddy Tim. He is a pyrotechnician. And first of all, Tim, it's pretty cool to be called a pyrotechnician. That's a pretty cool title. Talk to me about this setup and how you go about doing it.
We have real fire, but the difference is our fuel source. Whereas most typical fireplaces or campfires, you'd be using wood as your fuel source. But we can't do that because it sends off ambers, which can go and start fires. So we're using propane. These logs you see are ceramic logs.
These are ceramic logs?
Yeah.
Those look like real logs.
Exactly. We have this all plumbed up. We bury what we can so the camera doesn't see it. And we have a fuel supply feeding propane. And that is completely regulated and controlled by myself, so that if you want to change the intensity of the levels, we can do that.
So any sort of safety tips? We're dealing with fire.
Most people know that fire's hot.
Fire's hot.
You know, the logs themselves, they stay hot for a long time. Everybody's trying to get out in a hurry and they take a long time to cool down. Yeah. And so I'm always kind of babysitting them, so to speak, to make sure that nobody trips on them, nobody touches them, just thinking that they're, you know, something else to get out of the way. Fire suppression on standby. You know, that's always important. And just being vigilant, watching the fire at all times, making sure that it's not going out of control and nobody's going too close to it.
Yeah. So another reason why we chose this location was because there's some house power, but it's not your typical house power. We're kind of cheating because there's actually power outlets kind of spread out, surprisingly, all over this field. And so we have access to power. We just got to run a few lines over to our base camp, which is just over here.
With base camp here, we had our PAs set up, a couple pop-up tents, right? When we first got here, the sun was blaring down on us, right? Super hot. The very first thing is checking with you guys is which direction are we shooting? The last thing you want to do is set up base camp, and then next thing you know, you're shooting that direction and you got to get your PAs to strike it. So we check with our DP, with our director, make sure we're not shooting this way. Set up these pop-ups so that way it provides a shade, literally lowers the temperature by like 10 to 15 degrees, and your crew will love you for that. We kind of broke it down into camera department and G&E department and kind of spilled it over a little, but you always want to make sure your pop-up tents, you got some tables in there for your departments. This shows that you care about your crew. And then we got some work lights. And so I just picked these up at the regular Home Depot. I have them as part of like my production supplies. And we preset these ahead of time so that way as the sun goes down, starts to get a little magic hour, we kick these on and then everyone can see now. And so taking care of your crew, making sure that you think ahead with this.
We're comfortable, we're happy, and when you're happy on set, you know, the vibe is better, I feel like.
Oh yeah.
And the work is better, I think, too. Like, when your confidence level is up, you're feeling good and you're happy, you're gonna wanna do good work. So I'm with my buddy Izzy. He's helping me out. He's a grip on today's shoot. We're shooting this thing up maybe 20 or so odd feet, give or take. We got some rope here. Walk me through what's going on here.
Yeah, so we're going up on a mumble combo. I tend to not want to use the toothpick. So the toothpick is the first riser, right?
Oh.
And it's a little bit more fragile to like have it up, and with the wind, it can, you know, bend a little bit more because it's all aluminum.
Yeah, and it's thinner.
So I tend to not want to use it. So I'll leave it like that and I'll start on the second riser and go up from there. As far as why I have it anchored down with these ropes, it's just because you're up and in the air. So what I did was I grabbed some rope. This rope in particular has tape already at the ends. And then at the halfway point, fed it right through here at the top of the riser and split it up in half. So that way you can have two tie downs, two tie down points.
Where do those go?
This first one, I'll probably tie it off to that tree over there.
Oh, okay, smart.
And then the second one, I'm probably gonna find another tree on this side or another anchor point, something that if the wind picks up, it can help it hold it.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like the name of the game always on every job is safety. That's like the #1 thing, and you never want something falling down or falling on someone, let alone anything falling. So right behind me, the camera department is working on our camera rig, which today we are shooting on the Area Alexa Mini, and we're pairing that with Zeiss anamorphic lens. It's the Master Prime anamorphic lens, 2x squeeze, and that thing is baller. Obviously it's anamorphic, it's gonna give us that nice cinematic fall off in the background. You're gonna have that waterfall kind of bokeh. Our first establishing shot was more of a high, kind of like a really tall angle looking down, like 15 feet up. And originally we had a rig with a hi-hat, but our hi-hat malfunctioned, and our crew is so amazing that they were able to rig us something that's just as good. And what we did was we rigged this onto what looks like a Dana dolly, but it is not a Dana dolly. It's actually locked off on this cheese plate here. We have the head, and it's on a couple triple risers, and these can go all the way up and give us the exact same shot without sacrificing quality, safety, and most of all, efficiency. When shooting Moonlight, there's DPs that have their particular ways of doing it. I kind of lean on and I let the scene inform me and what it looks like. Some people like it diffused, some people like it harsh. In this case, we have so much negative space in the frame that I wanted the Moonlight to create some shadows from these trees and rake them across all this negative space, so we just have depth and we have visual interest. So we had a hot spot in the top right of frame behind those practicals. There was a grass patch back there, and I really wanted to kind of take that away, and so what I had my key grip do was a soft bottomer. Basically our light back there is creating that moonlight source, but it was also creating that hot spot. So what he did was he took a 4x4 full grid and he kind of cut half of that light beam from hitting that grass, but still maintained it hitting the trees so that we still get that shadow. So we get the best of both worlds. So we wanted to create a little bit more of that pockets of blue around the frame, and so what we did was we took another 600D with a Fresnel on it. We shot that through a 4x4 of 216. And that just diffused it a little bit. We didn't want to have two sources of shadows, so the diffusion really helped with creating a diffused look that didn't create shadows, and now we have one source, no double shadows, and we have pockets of blue. So another adjustment I made was I had our pyrotechnician, Tim, I had him intensify the fire, basically lift the level of the fire. And what that did was give us a little bit more orange around the center of the frame. It also keyed our actors. And the other thing I really love that it's doing is it's kind of bouncing off of the back of these trees and branches and some of the surroundings. It's just creating a nice look. It's giving the whole image more interest. It's giving, you know, just more texture. So I put these practicals up and I had them turn them on because I wanted to really balance out the color contrast. There was a lot of blue already. The only kind of complementary color was the fire. And so I wanted to kind of balance that out with a little bit more orange tungsten. And so these are already up, so I just had them turn it on, and I think it works. I think it works really well. So we got our fire up, but in order to create that blue kind of rich color that we see from Moonlight, I lowered our white balance in camera to 2900 Kelvin. And that gave us a nice blue kind of color that comes through when it rakes across the dirt. It's complementing the fire very well. We have some practicals in the back that's also complementing the cyan kind of blue color. So we can see my blues are kind of heading towards, if it would continue, right between cyan and blue, which is cyan just basically a little bit of green, which I always love. I'm good on my vector scope, I'm liking the image, and we are gonna get set to roll in just a little bit. All right guys, I think this is looking really good. Let's go for a take. So now we're going in for some coverage. We got done with our establishing shot. We're going in for about a medium to a close-up. And one thing I noticed is the fire alone is not enough to expose our actor's face. I'm flying in a 300X and we're putting that in a lantern. We're also turning on the fire effect to kind of supplement the fire. So here it is with just the fire. And now here it is with the fire and then the added 300X in the lantern with the fire effect on. So one thing I noticed was the moonlight from one of the 600Ds was a little too harsh. So what we did is we put a 4x4 diffusion and it's softening that moonlight, hitting him on the back, and I'm really liking that. Now we've got like a nice even, color contrast. We're still maintaining the same kind of look from our establishing shot. That's what I like that. Let's go with this. Stand by, we got cars in the back, hang on. All right, I think we're clear. Camera's speeding.
Action.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Woo! All right. All right, guys, that's a wrap. I was so stoked on how that turned out. Today, we looked at a bunch of things. We looked at the logistics of an exterior nighttime shoot. We're getting the right type of moon color, contrasting that with the orange fire. That was awesome. We worked with a pyrotechnician. I think that's a first on 4-Minute Film School. Thank you, Tim, for coming out. We also looked at how to supplement a natural fire with an artificial light using the 300X and using the effects within that light. But I want to know, guys, where else would you guys apply this fire effect? Comment down below for your chance to win an Aputure MC. Comment down below, get in there. Guys, I can't wait to see you next time. Hope you learned something. Peace out. I'm going home. Hey, I love you like my brother, bro.
Hey, bring it in.
Hey,
man.
come on,
bring
man.
It in.
Oh. Tuck it in. Hey, tuck it in. It's the real thing. It's the real thing. It's the real man.
That's gonna make the edit.